and welcome to Archive Thrifting, the show that isn't afraid to get dirty in the name of uncovering items that would most likely be caked in dirt anyway at this point. Yeah, that sounded a lot better in my head when I tried to write this. Anyway, I kind of lied to you at the end of last week's video. I said this was going to be a Ben's Junk week, and it was supposed to be, but the parts I ordered for the thing that I was going to cover seem to have gotten lost in the mail. The tracking history thing has just gone cold on me over the last several days. So, as such, today's video was actually supposed to be 2 weeks from now, and a nice little ramp up into episode 200, but clearly fate had other plans. But anyway, this marks the first new footage I've shot since we've started to come out of this whole COVID thing, and things have been opening up again. And I've actually shot a ton of footage, but I'm only going to run footage from 2 stores today. And that's because I shot so much that even when I cut the real junk out of it, I've still got about 22 minutes of thrifting footage to get through. So I'm really just wasting time at the box here. Let's get started. So this is why I moved here. Peaceful cornfields and wide open spaces on a nice sunny summer day just off a dirt road. Disrupted by the odd car, or 2 or 3 or 4. Oh, come on! Did I mention it was just a teeny bit windy that day? Could lose your hand on that thing. Whatever, the wind felt good. Nice contrast to the heat. And there's my old buffalo buddy, who seems to have picked up an alien friend. So that must mean we're at I-29 Antiques. Before I could even get in the building, I was greeted by this Betty Boop cheerleader statue, who seemed to be wearing her price tag like an ankle bracelet. I know this isn't very gentlemanly of me, but I gotta know. $325? Yikes. It was a little hot that day, so a nice refreshing Billy beer might be in order. $1.50, not bad for a beer. Must be light beer. Never mind. Okay, how about this odd-looking brewski? Saint Urhose. That's just Saint no. Okay, a Diet Pepsi will suffice. At least this one's still got liquid. And of course it's priceless. Why, yes, they do have Prince Albert in a can. And yes, someone's already let him out. Will you just drop the price on these damn CEDs already? I've been seeing these since I used to visit this place before I moved here 2 years ago. These things have been sitting here for at least 4 years now. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one around here with a CED player and the only person that would care. On top of the records, I found a couple of 16mm film canisters. Empty, of course, but nice and clean inside. And $13 for an empty film canister. And for whatever strange reason, the other one in the same condition was only $10. Go figure. Well, this would mark the 3rd Laserdisc I've seen since I lived here, and I like Dave Chappelle well enough, but I've never liked this movie at all. Otherwise, some records I don't really care about, a Wendy Waldman album I've already got, and otherwise just a bunch of records I already have or don't care about. Something tells me the menu and prices never changed for a mighty long time. Oh well, I guess I'll have the ranch wagon, the pizza burger, and the Schlitz burger. And a couple rolls of Rolaids. Well, I could psychoanalyze this drawing for a while, but I'll spare you that. As it turned out, this is a board game of sorts called Wahoo! The box wasn't too helpful, but it appears to just be aggravation with a faux Native American bent. No price, of course. Found a few more film canisters, this time 8mm, and these actually have some take-up reels inside, and they're all the same, but I don't really need any of this right now, but I guess I know where to look if I do. Oh man, my 7-year-old self would have flipped over this Garfield piggy bank. And it was only $4, complete with the stopper and everything. I have no desire for this now, but hey, I approve. They also had a few records in this booth, and they were all incredibly lame country records. I had never seen a cassette deck like this before. Side loading, doesn't rewind, and though I couldn't get the camera down in there, it looked pretty gnarly down there. I'm pretty sure it had never been cleaned. And I found it extra amusing that this all-in-one mini stereo had a balance knob. I guess if you want to smash your face up to the speakers or something. Also, no radio, just a tape deck and speakers, and I would never pay $25 for something like this, but it is unique, I'll give it that. Found a Criterion DVD of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas for $2. I like Terry Gilliam and all, but I'd much rather read the book. One of the Beatles anthology sets. And I also found an 8-track copy of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which I'm sure is hideously overpriced. Yep, $12. And it's one of those death cartridges too. Pass. Well, that's not unhealthy at all. And I get to pay $25 for the privilege. At least it's in a Ziploc baggie, I guess. And I also found 3 lamps that they can't seem to sell. And all 3 had some delightfully incoherent taglines on them, the last one being my personal favorite, which reads, "Someone should make sure this guy is okay. Deal. I think he lost his marbles." Oh yeah, and there was a ketchup gun and some loose knives in there too. I think he did lose his marbles though, because not the rusty knives, but he was charging $9 for Type 2 blank audio cassettes. And I'm always looking for these shorter ones, but that's well beyond Fleabay pricing. And there's today's obligatory Elvis sighting. And I found a couple of loose Atari 2600 carts, Dragster and Racquetball. $4 a piece, which isn't awful, but no better than the used video game place either. They were only selling these 45s as a lot, so I didn't get any, but there were some really nice looking picture sleeves in here. Of course, we got Elvis's immortal classic, Rockahula Baby, Connie Francis theme from Where the Boys Are, complete with movie ephemera. And then we got some Kitty ephemera, McNamara's band, and quite possibly the only American recording of Little Sir Echo. And aside from that, I found a copy of the Everly Brothers' So Sad to Watch Good Love Go Bad. And there were also a handful of tunes down there that I had simply never heard of, like that one. But the real gem here was a seemingly original copy of Rosie and the Originals' Puppy Love Clunker, but in a good way, Angel Baby, which I totally would have grabbed if not for that lot-only thing. So that's where the skull from those Eagles album covers went. Looks like his horns have been ground down a bit. Rock and roll will do that to you. Now this fooled me a bit. I saw the name Crosley and immediately thought crappy modern reproduction. But as it turns out, there was a Crosley that made TVs from 1948 to 56. And there's a sign next to it that says, "Bought in Howard, South Dakota." It was probably the only TV in Howard, South Dakota. And South Dakota only got its first TV station in 1953, and it was a mishmash of CBS, ABC, NBC, and Dumont all in one channel. Well, it wouldn't be Archive without a little civil defense ephemera. A 17.5-gallon metal water canister, which was thankfully empty. $35. I have nowhere to put this, nor would I want it in the first place, but hey, you don't see that every day. Well, this might be my single most depressing vinyl find, one of Spike Jonze's last albums. He'd given up on comedy to make incredibly dull quasi-Dixieland records, and this thing has been water damaged and beaten to hell. I wouldn't even pay the $1.95 for this one. Speaking of depressing records, hey, let's just stack a bunch of them and let them get all squished together and make some nice ring marks on the covers. And for the final insult, they were asking $5 a piece for these unremarkable records. Well, despite that lengthy segment, I only found one item off camera, an original cassette copy of Stephen Stills' second album from 1971 on Ampex tape, so it may very well be goo by now, but there's only one way to find out. And at 50 cents, I figured it was worth a shot. Well, I failed to shoot any footage outside the store, so Google Earth will have to suffice here. This marks our first visit to First Cash and Exchange, and doesn't it look classy? But I kind of prefer them this way. Now, this is pure nostalgia for me. When my family would visit back in the early and mid-90s, my then teenage cousin would take me to Pop and Go Video, a video rental place that I don't think extended much outside of Sioux Falls. This is where I learned about the horror that is Back to the Future Parts 2 and 3 for the NES. And yeah, this is just another copy of Total Recall, but I gotta have this. Looks like another X rental here. And it looks like it's just another Blockbuster special. I've already got some proper Blockbuster clamshells, so I'm good. Rock Talk Library from Crate Amplifiers. I am actually still using the same Crate amp I got with my first electric guitar back in 1997, and I'm not sure what Crate Rock 3 entails, but I guess I'll grab it. Then we've got Babyscapes Presents Celebration of Color, which appears to just be another one of those listening to classical music will magically make your kids smarter deals. Yeah, unless it can live up to the madness of Jingle Babies, it's a no-go. But I will give this one a shot, though. The Kiddaliddles, Volume 1, if only for those horrifying bug-eyed puppets there. And you know it's going to be a winner when your big special guest is a second-tier character from the later seasons of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. I don't really expect there to still be a VCR in that box, but I gotta know. Yup, just someone's dishes. Oh well. Anyway, back to the tapes. Debbie Gibson's music videos for her Out of the Blue album. And maybe it's just a songwriter thing, but as far as 80s teen idols go, I'm totally okay with Debbie Gibson. Nonetheless, I much prefer my 80s music videos on Laserdisc, thank you very much. Anyway, among the clamshells, I found what looks like a real winner. A Children's Christmas, starring Santa Claus himself, a downright suicidal-looking Santa Claus. Or maybe the guy from the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. Yeah, I gotta pick this one up for the host segments. Good times indeed. Elsewhere in the VHS section, I found all-star fishing bloopers. Not sure what that entails exactly, sticking yourself with a fishing lure, or maybe a bass smacking you in the ass.
Would you guys be interested in a foosball team?
Anyway, where was I? Something about a foosball table. Is this what I think it is? Yes, it is. It's a souvenir video of some family's trip through the Star Trek adventure ride at Universal Studios. I've already got another one of these, and I'd like to cover these on Archive, but despite not actually being from a Star Trek TV show or movie, there's still enough stuff in there that I kind of worry about YouTube coming down on me for, like, the theme song and all, but yeah, I'm picking it up. But I will not be picking up squiggles, dots, and lines, at least not today. This appears to be a learning to draw video for kids, with said kids getting nice and comfy with Ed Emberley on the back cover there. And did some kid get hungry and try to eat this thing? Anyway, I found one of those 90s business opportunity tapes. Discover a world of opportunity with prepaid long-distance calling cards. Yep, those last days before cell phones entered the mainstream. And funnily enough, I remember seeing those cards for sale everywhere, and nobody buying them, and definitely nobody using the damn things. But anyway, I had to slow down this footage because I've got a lot to say. With one exception, the audio cassettes looked pretty bad, and that lone exception being a sealed copy of My Life's a Dance by Jerry Junk of Wayne, Nebraska, population 5,600 as of my writing this, and I've actually passed through Wayne, Nebraska a few times. But anyway, Jerry evidently takes a stab at a couple of Allman Brothers tunes, some Bruce Springsteen, and I just gotta know how and why he covered Dr. Hook's last hit, Baby Makes Her Blue Jeans Talk, which is only the world's most depressing, damn she's hot song. But anyway, back at proper speed, this place was just drowning in 8 tracks. Harry Nilsson's The Point there, with no artwork, and I can't imagine that album flowing too well on an 8-track. But otherwise, there was a ton of homemade tapes, all of which just seemed to be dubs of various pop and rock records. And there's one right there of a couple of oldies compilations. And here's one of those Columbia House Treasury albums. I have yet to run into one that I actually want to pick up. Then, aside from that, another homemade tape, this time with Bobby Goldsboro and Cat Stevens, 2 flavors that absolutely do not go together. But otherwise, there were some decent titles in here, but I gotta admit, I don't really like dealing with 8 tracks outside of Oddity Archive. They're an absolute nightmare to repair, and they usually sound pretty bad. But anyway, I found what looked like it might be a naughty tape, but it's actually part of the Woodstock soundtrack, which I already have on CD. Then, aside from that, I found one called Caught Dem Fish by Justin Wilson, which appears to be a fisherman-centric comedy album. There were actually a few of his albums, but I'll just get this one to see if it's archive-worthy, and I'll come back for the rest if I'm so inclined. I hit the mother lode of those Columbia House Treasury albums, still sealed no less. Well, I guess if I ever need some more sacrificial tapes, I know where to come. These things all looked absolutely dismal content-wise. Found a whole crate of 78s, and mixed in with them were a bunch of sound booth recordings from the 40s and 50s. And I've been wanting to cover these for some time. It's just a matter of finding an episode's worth of keepers. And some of these had some rather alarming blue dust on them. But nonetheless, I did pick out a couple of these, and I guess I can come back for more if I want. Well, I mentioned Spike Jones earlier. I found a couple of prime period Spike Jones 78s here, which were scratched up enough that I didn't think I'd ever be able to play them, so I wound up passing. Okay, how desperate do you have to be to put your prosthetic leg in Hawk? And I guess I'll read the tag. Leon Killsmall. Keep indefinitely. November 30th, 2018. I think we can safely say Leon hasn't been back yet. But anyway, I finally found my way back to the electronics, where I was greeted by a realistic Radio Shack rebadged direct drive automatic turntable. I'm not in the market for another turntable right now, and I think $100 is a little steep for the condition, but whatever. Reasonably nice looking Onkyo cassette deck. But if I ever pick up another cassette deck, it's because I either have to or I found a great deal on a Nakamichi or something like that. I'm perfectly happy with my JVC. And below that is what appears to be a fairly early home theater receiver. Pretty basic, no Dolby or DTS or anything like that. Up on top, we've got a couple of probably 80s vintage DBX 263X outboard de-esser units, which is something we do with plugins on the computer these days. I'm using a de-esser plugin right now, actually. And for some reason, they were a little sticky. Ew. Anyway, anyone need a graphic EQ? Starting at $100, they were a little rich for my blood, but they looked good. Now, this brings back memories. I interned at the Denver Center for the Performing Arts when I was a senior in high school. Spent a lot of time backing up their record collection to minidisc, running through one of these SAE noise reduction units. Radio stations used to use these to filter out the rumble and click of vinyl, and I may actually come back for that. If it works, that's actually a good price. Oh god, a DBX 38X Compander unit, and this appears to be from sometime after the end of DBX encoded vinyl, as the disc decode button has been relabeled. Anyone that's watched Archive long enough knows how I feel about DBX noise reduction. Now, I was super tempted by these massive monster Pioneer speakers. I could blow away the neighborhood with these suckers. But I don't have the space for them, and at $300 it was a little much. Now, they did have another pair of Pioneers for $100, a little smaller. Well, allegedly, I only saw this one. Now, that's a receiver. This is a Kenwood Kr 9400 120 watt stereo receiver, probably from about 1975. My footage doesn't do it justice. This thing is huge. And it's got probably every toy in existence as of 1975 on it. They wanted $350 for it, and I'd probably have to knock out a wall or something to accommodate it. I've never seen one like this in the wild. And the haul from this store consists of a couple of 1950s record booth, probably acetates, one from record disc and one from audio disc. No idea what's actually on them. Then I found a sealed cassette from Jerry Junk, My Life's a Dance, and I am so looking forward to that one. We've got an 8-track from Justin Wilson, Caught Dem Fish. And I got a whole stack of VHS tapes, a copy of Total Recall from the late Pop and Go video. We've got what I'm guessing is a promo video of some sort from Crate Amplifiers. And then we've got Santa Claus Presents a Children's Christmas, as hosted by Suicidal Santa. We've got The Kiddaliddles, Volume 1, featuring some truly crazy-eyed puppets. We've got an unlabeled mystery tape. And then we've got two of those oh-so-90s get-rich-quick tapes, which clearly worked out so well for their original owners. One for probably some sort of real estate scam, and one for selling calling cards. Then we've got The Secrets of the Back to the Future trilogy. I used to check this out from the video rental place as a kid. Probably won't be as good as I remember it, though. And lastly, a souvenir video from the Star Trek Adventure Ride at Universal Studios, courtesy of the Langweert family. And the final haul for this episode consists of 2 record booth discs in some truly shredded paper sleeves. Then we've got the first decent VHS haul I've had since I've lived here. 9 tapes, 7 of which are archive candidates. Then we've got the Justin Wilson Fisherman Comedy 8-track thing. Then we've got Chinook Records presents Jerry Junk, My Life's a Dance. And lastly, we've got an original 1971 cassette copy of Stephen Stills' second album on Ampex tape. No, I have not tried this one yet, and yes, it may very well be goo by now. Anyway, the cost of today's haul came out to about $12. And that is it for today. I'll talk to you again soon.
And I've gone to the trouble of talking to a lot of theologians and professors of English and literature to find out if these words are profane or obscene in the manner that we use them. I've been told 100% that they're not. But there may be one people here tonight that doesn't believe that, and I may have offended someone. So if I did, I want you to forgive me and pardon me because I didn't mean to, and I apologize. Doesn't that sound nice? Actually, I don't give a damn.